Good day, my name is Dan Barrett, and I am past president of UNDE Local 625. Today I'm doing a brief presentation on Unit Cohesion. So I'm going to start off with just a basic overview of the principles of Unit Cohesion, and it really boils down to basic business principles. So we all understand that most businesses have a structure where you have some form of leadership, some form of finance, some form of operations, some form of communication. In the larger corporations, that particular structure is normally chief executive officer, chief operations officer, chief financial officer, chief communications officer, those kind of functions. And that sort of rolls fairly well into most of the business world, and even into the government sort of structure as well, and right down to your unit level. So within the public service, basically you've got the Treasury Board, which, as you can see, they've hit on these four areas again on public sector values. Good governance, that's the leadership piece. People management, that's the operations control piece. Financial, obviously, and information management. So there's your communication. So they've again hit on these four things, and essentially results and accountability is the end output from this process. Leadership and strategic direction is the input that you want. So that's essentially within the government structure, and it translates down into DND, and one of the areas that it jumps out this buzzword, this unit cohesion stuff, is in the alternate dispute resolution. So if you have certain characteristics to the unit, like if you have a cohesive unit, then you're not going to necessarily need to go through grievances and a lot of conflict resolution type aspects. So the policy itself speaks to that a little bit. So within DND and CF, they promote a working environment that respects ethics and values, builds morale, and encourages a high level of operational readiness. The DND and CF recognize that in order for this to occur, a range of dispute resolution processes must be available to address conflicts that will inevitably occur. And this is the aspect of competition. There is an inherent people have different interpretations of things, different capabilities, and those things need to be balanced out at some level. So if you have a good strategic plan, a good strategic direction, then that kind of stuff is going to be achieved. One of the things that they're pushing right now is reaching out to those folks who are marginalized or who don't feel included. So you're trying to get a more inclusive group, a more engaged group of individuals. Not only in their own career, but you don't want to have to basically address issues that don't work or not value added. So the department recognizes this kind of stuff. The Treasury Board, it recognizes that the government as a whole of Canada recognizes that you need to basically be in tune with your unit commands, what the directions are, what the values are, what your mission, what your vision is, and how you actually plug into this. So make sure you know this kind of stuff so that you can actually be more effective in the workplace. The union is really a strong advocate for effectiveness. Management deals a lot with the efficiency piece, and the leadership is also looking at a little bit of the effective stuff, because that's where this whole strategic plan stuff is coming in. They're getting the priorities of what we need to do, what's working and what isn't. So make sure that you participate in this process, engage in the union, engage in your own career, and the Canadian public will be better served by that. At the workplace, right, there's a degree of leadership, there's an obvious, supervisor, manager sort of structure there, and these folks are basically implementing policies and procedures. And so it's incumbent on us to kind of know what those policies and procedures are so that we can properly implement them and more or less give feedback to our managers and supervisors where we don't have either the resources to do it, or the time, or the workload, or whatever, so that basically at the end of the day the mission can be achieved. So the bottom line on this whole thing is that this sort of theory really crosses all spectrums, and when you're looking at it, regardless if it's the government, business, or it's important, or like the union, the volunteer sort of organization, the whole issue really in effectiveness is going to follow that same sort of foundation if it's in place and put in place well. One of the biggest problems you actually have within organizations, some of these surveys that are done and studies and things of successful organizations, and sometimes when you have problems, you end up having, it's like a soccer team or whatever, and some of the people in the soccer team are actually playing for the other side because they don't understand what they're doing, or they're actually working against their colleague because they want to make more money and this kind of stuff. That doesn't really normally translate into a very effective organization. So what you want to make sure you're doing is actually maximizing your influence within the organization, and the best way to do that is to understand exactly what everybody is supposed to be doing, and then making sure that you do your part. And that if you can't, for whatever reason, fulfill whatever commitment you may have made, that you put a flag up and say, "Look, I'm having some difficulties here, can somebody give me a hand?" And if you don't do that, and if there's no real contingency to make sure that priority is addressed appropriately, you end up with problems. So the whole concept of unit cohesion is we're all part of a team, and that we're all trying to support each other for a larger goal. Because individually we can only do so much, but as part of a team, we have the capability to do a lot more. So within the context of the implication is basically now the volunteer side of the house, the union structure. And this is where it gets sort of interesting, because now you have some folks in here who've been elected essentially to lead. In the unit cohesion thing, we also want to look at, besides what's coming from the component, what's also happening at the regional and area level. So regionally, Sharon D'Souza, for example, today is the 19th of December. She's put out a little sort of Christmas card or season's greeting, and a little candy cane for folks who were lucky enough to get one. That kind of initiative, we're trying to basically say, look, we have stuff coming up this year. Make sure you're participating in some of the activities like the 19th. On top of that, you've got within the Ontario region, you also have an Ontario Council. There's the two members there, Ryan Ward and Claudia Espinoza, and so these folks actually represent the Toronto region, the GTA, at the area council. So we kind of need to know what these folks are up to, and feed information to them through such structures as the Greater Toronto Area Council or some of the equity committees. So make sure that PSAC is actually properly providing the services that our local and our members need. So to that end, we have an action committee, and our folks there are working towards making sure that PSAC is properly plugged in. For the UNDE, Union National Defense Employees, at the last component convention, Brother John McClellan was elected, and he's as of 2014, right? And so he put out this message for the president. So welcome to the Union National Defense Employees. We are the fourth largest component of the Public Service Alliance of Canada, with over 19,000 members in public, private sector, and non-public funded employees. UNDE provides 6 essential services to its members. We work to ensure that our workplaces are safe. We represent members in grievances against management. We provide advice and representation on classification issues. We represent members at public service staff tribunal complaints, and we provide education to our members about their rights and the rules of the union. And we keep our members informed about our activities. Beyond the basic services that the UNDE provides, we are also a community built with members and run by members. Our mandate is dictated by the membership, and we carry out our mandate on behalf of the membership. I'm really excited to introduce you to our new website. We hope that our redesigned website will be an effective tool in allowing members to connect with each other and bring us closer to the core values of the union membership. The next coming year will be challenging, and our communications with our members will be the key to protecting jobs, keeping members informed in a timely manner, and remaining accountable to our membership. At the same time, holding the employer accountable when adverse decisions affect our members, their families, and the communities they live in. Please take the time to get to know your new UND website, and thank you for visiting. In solidarity, John McClellan, National President, Union National Defense Employees. So essentially, John's essentially saying, okay, look, priority for the year, communication, get it out there. This is sort of an election year sort of scenario, so you want to make sure that the next government that comes into play, has the public's interest at hand, and works to ensure that good governance is actually in place, and that good government is essentially running effectively to serve the public's interest. So all those kind of good stuff. Part of our role as a union actually is to make sure that does happen. We're part of the checks and balance process, and it's incumbent on you to kind of know how to engage the union appropriately to make sure that your concerns are raised to management, and at the local level you've got that sort of stuff covered off. Okay, so again getting down to the local level area. Within UNDE at the last national convention, Sir Desbian over there, he was elected as the regional vice president for Ontario, and one of the things he actually did is he indicated he was going to implement one of the resolutions that came out of our local, which was to more or less assign portfolios to some of the other elected officers. So within the component structure at the regional level, you have the regional vice president for Ontario, you have the deputy RVP, and then you have the first alternate and second alternate in case something happens. Like last session, basically we lost almost that whole group over the course of the 3 years. So, but in this particular case, what we're trying to do is assign sort of portfolios. So, for example, our president, Carolyn Handley, has been assigned the portfolio for communication. As you saw earlier, John McClellan, identified communication as one of the focal points for the year. So, those are the kind of initiatives that, if you're looking at trying to implement and keep a steady course sort of thing for the union, a lot of the stuff is around that kind of area. So, trying to do your part to get the word out and make sure people understand where some of the resources are on communication, orientation, being introduced to your representatives as new employees or employees that are new to the union. So essentially, when you look at the mandate unit cohesion stuff for the local, probably the easiest one, if you go to the actual local committee mandate records of discussion, that particular page, it'll capsulize where we are right now, and this may change with Caroline's in the near future, so make sure you go check this out. But for example, the executive committee is scheduled to meet once every 2 months, so that tells you when they're supposed to be doing their thing officially. There's probably going to be, there may be another meeting in trying to set up the agenda and stuff. I know PSAC is recommending the locals meet every month, so we'll see what happens there. There may be one meeting that's outside of the regular hours, but we'll see what happens. And so every other month as required to address priority matters. The committee is chaired by the president, whose leadership creates the vision and mission of to be executed in accordance with the mandate from the membership. So the mandate that we got more or less from the membership at the AGM was to essentially continue on with the orientation sort of program, giving people the opportunity to meet the representatives and have the committees function in an effective manner, so that we can basically enhance not only how the unit or how the local operates, but also how the units themselves are operating effectively. So through consultation and making recommendations and that kind of stuff. So the Vice President addresses operational matters in the local and ensures that priority issues can be addressed in the absence of the President. The Treasurer ensures that the best practices of financial transparency and accountability are pursued to enhance confidence in the value offered by the services provided by the local, and the Secretary and Communications Officer ensure that members receive timely and useful information. So basically, you've got those 4 keys that I spoke about earlier. Basically, you've got their roles and responsibilities that are going to be set up, and depending on what the capabilities of availability of people to do some of these functions, that's going to determine essentially how stuff gets done. And with some of the other committees that are also on this page, you can get a better feel for exactly what they do, how they do it, and with more transparency, you have more of a chance that people are going to actually be able to effectively participate, and that's one of the benchmarks for proper unit cohesion, so we're all basically going on the same page. We get our mandate at the AGM, and essentially this year we have a new president, Caroline Handley, and so our first meeting again is of the executive is going to be today, and looking forward to sharing with you folks our new communication strategy and what our long-term goals are for the next 3 years or so. And if you have any concerns or whatever, make sure you advise the executive of what's going on there. Your stewards, plug into your health and safety folks, and thanks. And once again, happy holidays for those folks who have seen us today and or over the next couple of days. And hope you guys have a good 25th.